Hey everybody, I am your friendly neighborhood bohemian. You're watching the Weird Beatnik channel. Today, I had something on my mind, what a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me about. But I'm going to say it anyway. Because I'm counterculture in this channel. I mean, I'm counterculture no matter what. And I like to keep things real. So here we go. Pretentious is underrated. It is overhated, but it's also cool. In fact, being pretentious right now in the climate, political, social, and internet climate of cringe culture is the most counterculture thing you can do right now. Because anytime when somebody, and I'm sick of this, anytime when somebody puts out something that is a little artsy, maybe a little pretentious, people will go like, "Oh, that's cringe." But let me tell you something. That is why we don't have counterculture today. Of course, everybody had different names for people when counterculture was going on. They would call them freaks, weirdos, whatever. However, it seems like cringe really got a hold of people, especially in the internet age. Something about the internet, isn't it? We are afraid to be ourselves anymore because we are afraid to be told this horrible thing that you're not part of a societal crowd. But the point is, who really wants to be part of that unless if you're like a billionaire or something? And even then, billionaires don't even want to be part of that, really. But let me ask you this. Is it worth, now, is it really worth to sacrifice your artistic endeavors, even if you know it's personally not the greatest thing ever? Is it worth to sacrifice it over being part of a society? We're going to get into it today in this video. Why I think pretentious is the new cool. Or maybe it always has been, but with context. I thought the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness is a quote from a famous poem called Hollow by Allen Ginsberg. He was an openly gay man, somewhat was seen kind of pretentious in the 1950s. He wrote this book to kind of say, isn't it ridiculous that people can run our lives? But in a weird sense, he didn't want him and the Beat generation, which he came out of, the Beat generation being this literary movement from the 50s, didn't really want to change anything, but more wanted the government just to, the government and society to leave them alone. But they wasn't necessarily libertarians. They understood you should have a social group and all those things too. So I wouldn't call them like libertarians in that sense, but in a more broader sense, they were sort of going against the grain. Well, okay, they were, not sort of, but they were going against the grain, writing for the time really just edgy kind of poetry, even now for the standards of now. I mean, we forget sometimes how these beat poems are mostly really rude and crude, but they all made a point, however. Yes, some of them really did use, like, I guess you could, what's the word I'm looking for? Homophobic languages, but a lot of them were gay. They did that because they were commenting on a society. Nowadays, I think if they would have spun out today, they would, in the same way, they would be called either cringe, pretentious, you name it. But why? Why do we fear something we don't quite understand? And why do we don't want to understand it, more importantly? Because it's one thing to fear something, it's a whole other thing to not want to understand it and not have a conversation around it. I think, because if you go back to 1956, for example, Allen Ginsberg went to court for that trial, basically, for that poem. How? He did. And, conversations even back in on, well, of course it was the 50s, but conversations about censorship and all these things were a big deal back then, freedom of speech. We didn't think... We are often told America is the land of the free. But the truth is, yes, we have some freedom. Really what we have are a few good privileges. Does it make America bad? No, I don't think so. Anyway, I love America. But I do think we can be a little dishonest sometimes when we say America is the freest. What we should be saying, America could be the most freest country we can ever make it if we can focus on the things that make us free. But of course, that's a whole conversation for a different video and different day. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I feel like, for the most part, freedom of speech is important to this issue because cringe, you can even say what the conservatives say nowadays, woke, which was interesting because woke just used to just mean say woke. Say aware of what's going on. Now woke is just a buzzword for anything that conservatives don't like. The same with cringe. Cringe and woke is pretty much two different sides of the same a political, social coin. It's supposed to tell you what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing is not part of our society, but the truth is, who cares? Be you. Be weird. Be pretentious. Because at this point, pretension is the new cool. Tell me what you think about this video. Did you agree, disagree, angry, not angry? Let me know. Somewhere in the middle. Let me know. Bye-bye.